Human trafficking is a serious crime and now a matter of global concern. It is a shameful act in the society, and therefore there is need to put in measures for prevention and awareness of the same. Each citizen and duty bearer at national and county levels has a role, responsibility, and obligation to end human trafficking. Sometimes it's good to be cautious so that you don't fall victim to human trafficking. This will help in reducing trafficking. We all need to create awareness to inform people of all walks of life on how to prevent themselves from being trafficked and how to migrate safely. One can engage in lobbying and advocacy against human trafficking in their areas of residence and jurisdiction. Some of us can even volunteer our time and institutions, offer our skills and time in fighting this vice. We can also inform individuals that they are victims of a crime when they are exploited by a trafficker, and we have the law which can support them, and they can get assistance from different NGOs such as that, which is one of the leading civil society organizations fighting against human trafficking in Kenya. Reporting cases of human trafficking to the authorities whenever we come across them will also help, since we have records which can show statistics of the trafficking cases from different regions. There is also need to inform women, children, youth, and persons living with disability in our communities about the dangers of human trafficking and how they can fight the same. There is also need to educate citizens on how to handle survivors of trafficking once they come back to our communities. Victims of human trafficking need empathy, love, support, so as they do not feel that they are not part of the community. We have to welcome them back. We have to support them with material resources and financial assistance that they may need. We can donate money to the initiatives which are geared towards ending this crime. We need to form a network that will be effective in communicating on what needs to be done to fight human trafficking in different parts of the country. There is need to select a team to be in charge of communication and updates to the group and contact people who people could always rely on, and they can represent the team whenever called upon us. So each of us should be able to understand what's happening in each county regarding the fight against this human trafficking, from updates from the individuals in the different regions. There's need to come up with a platform where we can all be able to link up and share ideas from our best practices in our areas and how to combat human trafficking. There's need to bring education and awareness to schools, churches, and in the community at large. It takes an anti-human trafficking champion in every community to help abolish the crisis and domestic minor sex trafficking. We should establish anti-trafficking clubs in every school and educational institutions, also in the villages, in the wards, the sub-counties, and at the national levels. For us to succeed in this fight against human trafficking, we require commitment from teachers, the parents, and the community at large. This will help reduce the behaviors and vulnerability among children, women, and students. Human trafficking is a plague for any community, urban area, or even towns and cities. If we are going to generate the mass support necessary to eradicate human trafficking, we'll need to help the general public realize the true gravity of the modern day slavery which exists in our world today, and address the myths that could hinder their full investment into solution. We also need to build strategic partnerships across the villages, the wards, the sub-counties, and the regions, as well as cross-border linkages, the networks among state actors, particularly law enforcement agencies and non-state actors. Particularly those of us in Kenya can build these partnerships with our colleagues in Tanzania, Uganda, Ethiopia, Somalia, and other countries. There is need also to create networks of volunteers from different organizations and key informants working at the grassroots levels. These networks and the partnerships will help in referral of cases of victims and will greatly help in anti-trafficking organizations and law enforcement agencies to identify the perpetrators and human trafficking in the community. In addition to the bold intervention strategies, we'll also need to start moving upstream to implement some of the preventive measures to ensure that our children are not easy prey for these traffickers. This is a monumental task, but with the right team it can be done and communities can be educated and soft targets can be strengthened to avoid vulnerability. In Kenya, the average age for human trafficking victim is approximately 12 to 14 years. If we concentrate our efforts in strengthening the support system of the primary targets of trafficking, then we will inevitably weaken both supply and demand for the industry. We should also use social media sites like WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube to inform the public against human trafficking. In as much as social media is also used to promote human trafficking, we can also use it positively so that we counter that by spreading the word against human trafficking. This can reach many victims who are stuck in their homes but have access to internet. We believe that with more awareness to the crime, to both the government officials and the general public, we will have more cases being taken to court. We were surprised when we were coming on our way from Kenya at the airport. We met many girls who looked confused at the airport. They were carrying passports and lots of documents in envelopes. But the officials, the immigration officials who were telling them, we were actually directing them, telling them that they have to keep the documents well because they will need the documents where they are going. I think that was a straight case of trafficking of those girls. So it could be with knowledge or without knowledge of some of these immigration officers. So it is my belief that if we engage them, then these cases will be reduced. There is also need to rescue and return the students to schools and educational institutions so that their dreams may be realized through rehabilitation processes and that they are guaranteed second chance in life. We should also establish rescue centers and safe places in each county so that to provide shelter for vulnerable survivors of human trafficking, especially the women, girls, and children. There is also need to engage media in publicity campaigns against human trafficking. The media plays a very fundamental role as whistleblowers. We have seen in Kenya for the victims, maybe the victims who got stuck in the Gulf, the media has played an important role because they highlighted the cases and the government has acted. So it would be important that we engage the media so that we work with them with a view to ending the vice. There is also a need for partnership between the national government and the county governments to improve the protective services provided for the victims and the survivors. There is also a need to engage the key stakeholders in the administration of justice through the court user committees, that is the prosecutors, the probation, children officers, the police. Each of them should be trained on their roles. And also for the children officer, counseling and follow-up for children and victims. We have seen in our communities in Kenya that extended and the nuclear families always protect their daughters and sisters. And whenever a boy or a man tries to get into a relationship with them, they will do anything to ensure that the rights of those girls are protected. So if we have to get rid of this vice, we'll be required to protect the victims at all costs in the same manner that we protect our daughters and our children. And with that, I end my presentation, and I say thank you for listening.